Euromaxx highlights. In today's show, Big Picture. Photographer Andreas Gursky spends a year getting the right shot. Revolutionary shades. German architect Jürgen Mayer H reinvents sunglasses. Nordic sound. Conductor Anu Tali and her Estonian Finnish Orchestra. Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Robin Merrill.
And a very warm welcome from Berlin. We begin with a man who must be addicted to adrenaline. Toni Bender from Bavaria is a test pilot for paragliders, which he pushes to their limits to see how the equipment reacts. Not a job for the faint-hearted.
It's as if he'd been born with wings. He's in the air almost every day. Where others would sink immediately, he finds air currents that take him upwards. Way up. This is Innsbruck in the Austrian Alps. This gondola takes Toni Bender up to 2,200 meters above sea level. He'll be testing a paraglider that's due to go on sale this year. Bad weather is on the way. Perhaps no one but Bender would fly in conditions like these.
The wind's pretty strong today. We're going to need a lot of luck. And it could be that we don't get up in the air at all.
But for Bender, bad weather is sometimes good. He often tests paragliders under extreme conditions. Today, a cold front with westerly winds and thunderstorms is on the way. Mistakes could have fatal consequences.
What's dangerous about paragliding is when you're just above the ground. I'll pay extra attention during the first 30 to 40 seconds to make sure nothing's wrong. When I'm up to 50 to 100 meters above ground, I can use my safety valve.
The safety valve is Toni's reserve parachutes. They're stowed in a harness on his back and are something akin to life insurance. Bender's paraglider is a prototype whose dimensions are 2.5 by 11 meters of nylon. Bender's employer is a paraglider maker near Innsbruck. Here he discusses his test flights with the developers. This paraglider will cost around 3,000 euros if it passes all the tests. It's marketed to experienced flyers. And it could be that some customers buy the paraglider only because Toni Bender tested it.
At the first German championships, we stood and watched open-mouthed, admiring how Toni kept himself in the air. With us, it's a bit of a psychological game. Whoever gets into the air can watch the others from above, and he's the dominant one. All the others flew from a takeoff point to the landing point, and he stayed in the air for 3/4 of an hour. It was incredible. So from the start, we were Toni Bender fans.
But Toni Bender doesn't just rise, he also falls. In his test flights, he has to put himself into situations that are every pilot's worst nightmare, like a collapsing canopy and a deep plunge. One of his greatest achievements was crossing the Alps without an engine. In all, as he rose and descended over the mountain range, he had to negotiate 40,000 meters of altitude. But his passion involves risks. He's broken various bones at various times. Bender's last test flight of the day, he glides into the Inntal Valley. He completes about 200 test flights with the Paraglider before it goes on the market.
There was a lot of wind just now. And it steers well, it's fast, has good forward motion, glides well. I'm satisfied with it.
Toni Bender is now 53 and wants to paraglide for many years to come. At the end of the day, he says he only really feels comfortable in the air.
A brave man. German photographer Andreas Gursky is one of the most important visual artists around today. Large-scale photos with immense detail, like this one called 99 Cents, are his trademark. The subject matter is often taken from everyday life. The process of making these monumental pictures has now been documented by a filmmaker who followed Gursky for almost a year as he worked on just one picture.
Behind this busy road in Hamm, on the edge of Germany's industrial Ruhr Valley, is a mine. Andreas Gursky is looking for motifs for his new picture at this unconventional location, a miner's changing room. His assistant spent weeks researching possible locations. Now the artist himself is here to get an impression. He's interested in the clothes worn by the miners and how they get them each day.
How does that work? If the men were here now for the new shift, the clothes are lowered down to them, right?
Dann werden die Sachen hier runtergefahren.
Ja.
Das heißt, Einzelne sind unten.
Ja, die sind nummeriert. Die haben
Yes, they have their own number and a personal lock. They open the lock and then their personal hook comes down via a chain, together with their work clothes.
Ihren persönlichen Haken runter mit den Arbeitssachen.
Andreas Gursky wants to know the exact daily routine of the miners and about the location's history before taking his photos.
Die Standorte. Hier sind das mit Bild machen konnte.
It will take a year before work on the project, named after the mine, Hamm Bergwerk Ost, is complete. Also accompanying the artist is Berlin-based filmmaker Jan Schmidt-Gara. He didn't expect Gursky to agree to the proposed film so quickly.
I was surprised and happy about how open he was from day one. It didn't happen gradually over the course of the shooting. He was really open from the outset and had no qualms talking about trade secrets. He'd explain in detail how such a picture is created.
The resulting film, long shot close up, reveals the degree of patience and precision employed by Andreas Gursky. That vigilance is evident when preparing his equipment. He developed a passion for photography as a young boy. Both his father and grandfather were professional photographers.
Not once in his life did my father allow other people to insert the cartridges. He did it himself.
And Andreas Gursky does everything himself as well. He's involved in every step of the process. He heads off for the mine with just one assistant. The documentary film shows how Andreas Gursky takes one picture after the other for 4 days straight. There might be weeks, even months, in between shoots, while he checks and compares the copies and then puts his mind to the next step. Gradually, the image that he already has in his head evolves.
He's very focused. He knows exactly what he wants. And when he's at work, he gets this tunnel vision. He focuses solely on the image and shuts out everything else around him.
The various shots are then turned into a photo on the computer, one of the most exciting parts in the movie. It's very illustrative as regards to Gursky's work. He sits with his picture editor in the studio for days on end, adding a bit of extra brightness here or altering the contrast there.
I'd leave it as it was. You get this magical space in the background. Those are the random elements that weren't actually planned. You discover details that suddenly become important, and then you highlight them.
The photographer wants more workers in the picture. Time for some extra shots. The documentary film shows how people play a crucial role in Andreas Gursky's photos, even if they're not always visible at first glance. The film follows the resulting work from the mine in Germany to the Ukrainian capital of Kiev and the man who will be buying it. Gursky collector Viktor Pinchuk is one of the wealthiest men in the country. The price remains secret.
The work reminds me of where I'm from. I used to work in a mine like that. I had the same work clothes, and they were stored in a similar system.
What I love about this kind of picture is that, on the one hand, it's extremely formalistic and so stunning as a total composition. But when you take a closer look, you see all these details from life as a miner. That mix of cold construction and hot details is what touches people.
Only a privileged few people could afford to buy a work like this. But the documentary film Long Shot Close Up, now out on DVD, does provide everyone some access to the world of Andreas Gursky's art.
Now, a London landmark has been saved. The St Pancras Hotel, originally the Midland Grand, built in 1868, has just reopened its doors after being fully renovated. The impressive Gothic-style building was due for demolition in the 1960s, but following major protests, it was classed as a protected building, and now it's back in business. Euromaxx checks in to check it out.
An old hotel restored to its former glory. It's adjacent to King's Cross railway station and fronts St Pancras terminus. The spires, arches and red brick were the quintessence of Victorian architecture and epitomised the pomp and grandeur of the British Empire.
What we have over here, we have something that is just, there's a love affair. Londoners know it, Londoners are familiar with it, but nobody has actually come in.
German-born Canadian Harry Handelsman personally saw to the completion of the renovation work when the investors jumped ship. He pioneered New York-style lofts in London, but the St Pancras Renaissance London Hotel is certainly his most adventurous project to date.
It takes ambition, and I think it takes an incredible amount of foolishness, to undertake something like that, because it makes no sense, and it was incredibly difficult.
Particularly recreating the authentic 19th century look. This room was completely reconstructed. The wallpaper is a real treasure and is the work of 8 experts. This alone cost over €50,000. The Midland Grand Hotel, as it used to be called, was not just the most majestic, but also the most modern in England. It was designed by architect George Gilbert Scott. It was built directly outside St Pancras Station, which is now the terminus for Eurostar services to mainland Europe. Just like in the old days, you can enter the hotel directly from the station. The glorious old ticket office has been converted into a 29-metre-long bar. The restaurant has also been restored to its old splendour and now bears the name Gilbert Scott. The hotel now has 245 rooms, all of the highest quality, of course. Prices start at €310 per night. The Royal Suite will set you back over €11,000. It does feature prestigious works of art and photography, however. Some rooms boast a direct view of the Eurostar. The original Midland Grand Hotel also had a progressive reputation back in the 19th century. It boasted a special smoking room for ladies, the first time women were allowed to smoke in public in Europe.
We have something here in this particular building that actually reflects Imperial Britain at its greatest, and it's being reintroduced in 2011 to the world.
The St. Pancras Hotel celebrated its opening party on May 5th. 138 years to the day since the Midland Grand opened its doors to paying guests.
Beauty, as we know, is in the eye of the beholder, and there's no such thing as perfect features. That's because no face is perfectly symmetrical. This was something that obviously got German architect Jürgen Mayer H thinking when he turned his attention to sunglasses. Why do glasses have to be symmetrical, he thought? A revolutionary idea, but quite logical, really.
They have names like Boy Toy, Okie Dokie and TikTok. Quirky names for quirky accessories. These sunglasses come in various sizes and with different frames. What they all have in common is that they're asymmetric. They're designed by Jürgen Mayer H. He's actually an architect. This is the first time he's designed a range of sunglasses.
These sunglasses challenge the standards and norms we're used to with glasses. We expect them to be symmetrical, but actually the lack of symmetry between the two sides of the face is what makes someone beautiful, and that's what we wanted to emphasize with the sunglasses.
For the last 15 years, Jürgen Mayer H has been experimenting with forms and designing award-winning buildings all over the world. He's also an acclaimed product designer. Some of his accessories and furniture have even found their way into museums.
Our work is very sculptural. We like to look at the interplay between technology, nature, and the body, and the forms of communication taking place within these three parameters.
Jürgen Mayer H first tried out various ideas on his computer before coming up with the 5 designs that make up the collection. He developed numerous prototypes and rejected ones that seemed a bit over the top. The idea for the collection came to him purely by chance.
The first time I thought about sunglasses was when I was on the phone and started drawing glasses onto people's faces in a magazine while I was talking. Then I suddenly got interested in the idea and started playing around with the asymmetric look. It was almost like a reflex action, the sort of doodling you do when you're on the phone.
Jürgen Mayer H designed this limited edition line for the label IC Berlin. They cost €299 per pair. IC Berlin sunglasses are light and very flexible. They don't have any screws. They're secured with a prize-winning fastener. Ralf Andel is the founder of IC Berlin and frequently works with partners who hail from other creative industries. The sunglasses sold out within weeks of their launch. New models are currently in production. So, what kind of people actually dare wear this sort of thing?
They're definitely extroverted people, the kind who like the limelight. And they want their sunglasses to be a statement to the world, a talking point and an invitation. So people come up to them and say, "Hey, those are wild glasses." And then you get talking.
Asymmetric sunglasses. The guardians of style in some places might not like them, but here in Berlin, anything goes.
This year, the European capitals of culture are the Estonian capital Tallinn and the Finnish city of Turku. This is especially pleasing to twin sisters Anu and Tali, who 14 years ago founded the Nordic Symphony Orchestra, bringing together the culture and music of these two nations. Under the baton of Anu Tali, the orchestra has gone from strength to strength, and earlier this week they played a very special concert in the Estonian capital.
Wing on Wing, an especially difficult work by Finnish conductor and composer Esa-Pekka Salonen. Anu Tali loves challenging her Nordic Symphony Orchestra. Anu and her twin sister Kadri founded the orchestra 14 years ago. They wanted to put Estonia on the international map where music is concerned. This year, Tallinn is a European capital of culture. The two see it as a confirmation of their beliefs.
Nordic Symphony Orchestra was always doing this welcoming people in Tallinn. So now it's only official, so it's nothing changed for us actually. But of course it is a great pleasure to have more people acknowledged about Estonia and Tallinn and us and our musical possibilities.
For me it is a possibility to realize and to tell people that what we have done for 14 years has been worthwhile, that we actually have been this thing what is now officially called European Cultural Capital 2011, and we've done it for 14 years. Constantly we figured that this is a cultural capital of Europe, not even knowing that it one day will be.
Right now, Anu Tali is conducting some 90 musicians from 10 countries.
Yeah. Jelly, I wonder, do you have crescendo?
In 1997, Anu and Kadri founded an orchestra for Estonian and Finnish musicians. At first, just one concert was planned. Its success was overwhelming. More concerts and CDs followed, and in 2003, Anu was named Young Artist of the Year at the prestigious Echo Classic Awards.
Sõbrad, kleebime ennast sisse. Woodwind also, the tendency is that we take a break and we're not gluing in.
I've been from very early age very lucky to be able to form this group and to maintain it so that we are all good friends in a big symphony orchestra, classical, most traditional scale and most sort of traditional field, and it works like a rock group. It has a major energy and lots of respect and love to each other, and that's how it is run, and I think it's a miracle for me.
Tali manages the privately funded orchestra and convinces sponsors about her idea of an international musical ensemble.
When we started, we were 25 years old, and we never knew. If somebody would have told us that you just created an international, full-size, extremely good-level symphony orchestra, then I would have laughed. This is a crazy idea. It just doesn't happen like that. And it takes time to realize that it just happened, and it happened in a little Estonia.
Anu Tali calls their hometown of Tallinn her anchor, although now she's rarely there. As a guest conductor, she's in demand the world over and makes regular appearances with major orchestras in Europe, Japan, and the US. But she invests her greatest enthusiasm in her own orchestra. Her personality and reputation attract the best musicians, and she convinces them that the musical styles of different countries can harmonize with one another.
I played for the first time in 2006, so this is since 5 years I'm with the orchestra, and already in the beginning I got inspired by the different nationalities in the orchestra.
It's really great to play under Anu's direction. She liberates you and gives you a lot of freedom so you can play freely.
I met new voices, I met new culture, kind of styles. It's important for me as a musician, and it's important for me as a human.
I value spending time with them off or on stage. So, for me, it's a great privilege to live my life with 90 people of friends every now and then gathering.
The concert in her hometown is a highlight in Anu Tali's career. Tallinn is one of 2011's European Capitals of Culture, and the conductor is a step further along on her musical mission.
Finally, just time to tell you our internet address at dw-world.de/English/Euromaxx highlights. That's all for now, though, so bye-bye.